Just before we get into the review of today's newspapers, we will briefly just touch on the NAN's president's apology, his apology, alleged apology now, because we've just received word directly from Comrade Atiku Abubakar Issa to say that he did not apologize to Sheyi Tinubu for anything to start with, and he is also being illegally detained by the DSS. And I strongly believe that this is for the DSS to come out to either disprove or to say that it is not the case whatsoever and they do not have any hand in his disappearance. But he says that he was naked, he was beaten, he was brutalized, and he doesn't think that this illegality should continue, that he has not been able to apologize to anyone, and they have just been authorized or asked to lock him up, and he is not being allowed to speak for himself. Like I said earlier, it's important for him to come out and speak up and say what he said in that tweet, because we cannot authenticate who tweeted it. Same with the person who's reaching out is not a video. It's also a message. We have to authenticate both sides.
Who's chatting,
precisely,
who's claiming
so we need to authenticate both sides.
But like we have
said, and the only way
earlier,
we can do that is by we need to see the NAN's president, where that is the only way to authenticate whether he apologized. Can be true. If he did not apologize, now, he has to come out, and he's saying the DSS
if he's
are
claiming
holding
now
him
that the
illegally.
DSS is holding him, whoever is behind this message, then it is for the DSS, to come out. But of course, people might ask.
And the NAN's president as well, he needs to come out and explain. This NAN's president.
If he's been held, how will he come out?
Who is he being held by?
But I thought you said he said the DSS.
That's what we're saying.
Exactly.
So what if the DSS said they are not holding him?
It's a bit naughty, and it's not something that we can, categorically take a position on.
Of course we can't.
He's able, whoever is behind that message, if he's able to chat with an outsider, he should be able to correct.
Have you been? It's not necessarily
what has been put out.
Not necessarily.
What has been put out.
Not necessarily. I think the important thing is just stating that this apology is subject to questions. It's subject to investigation. We can't. The reason we're bringing this up is because we said NAN's president apologizes to Sheyi Tinubu. To say that apology is under subjection, it's under investigation. He says he did not apologize.
We should leave this to the authorities and the police.
Of course, but like you'd always say, as journalists, we just have to inform people. So that's exactly what we're doing.
All right, we move on to the newspaper review. Saturday, and of course, we'll start with this day. On Saturday, I think we should take it from top to bottom. Yes. The window story here says, Oti to convert new government house built by Piazzu to 5-star hotel. With the rider, state acquires Abba Mega Mall, frees investors from financial liabilities. I think this is coming, on the heels of that interview with Arise by Governor of Abia State, Oti. And it's now converted. I saw the pictures of the place that they are converted to a 5-star hotel, on social media. And I thought that who built this humongous thing? And if you can see from what is written here, I think the commissioner who made a statement on behalf of the governor it says that it is uninhabitable condition is the reason why they will be converting it into a 5-star hotel. But then people will also ask does that now mean that Governor Oti will try and build, another government house, just like Soludo has done in Anambra? Every governor in many states of Nigeria, not all the states, tend to see building a new government house as a priority, which ought not to be. But that is what is coming from Abia State. Under that story, same page 5 of today's This Day, Afrexim Bank report, USAID suspension deepens Nigeria's fiscal challenge. But that's stating the obvious. If we have built a system that is used to freebies, once the tap runs dry, there will be challenges. But of course, we must look at, Nigeria first. I believe that's a new thing that the government is doing, to look at ways that we can now provide for our own needs without having to look for freebies. If they come, if assistance comes, we should take it, but then we shouldn't plan our lives.
Based off of it.
The fifth oil producing nation in the country shouldn't plan its life on freebies. The other story just below the masthead, UTME JAMB releases results. We told 39,834, almost 40,000.
That's almost 40,000.
That's exactly a lot. Is this not the same result where they're saying out of 1.9 that took the exam, 1.5 of them didn't score up to 200? You know, and a lot of people, particularly parents, are saying that many in public schools, many of the students in public schools were not used to computers, which was what JAMB insisted will be used in conducting the exam. And so that basically put many of the students across the country who are from public schools and private schools that are not that private.
Say private schools that are not, what is that? Please, what is a private school that are not that
disadvantage?
private?
You know, that's because it's not, because it's a commentary on where we are in terms of the quality of education and the processes that we adopt. If 1.5 million out of 1.9, less than 2 million, fail a particular exam. I don't think that it has ever happened in this manner. But then let's also move on to the Pope story. At first Mass, which you referenced earlier in the program, Pope Leo XIV says church must bring light to world's dark nights. Church must bring light towards dark night. A new Catholic leader to be formally installed May 18th. Nigeria Catholic bishops Atiku, Obi, Tuga, Amadi congratulate Pontiff, which again speaks to the role of an important spiritual leader like the Pope, using, his position and his authority to contribute to what has been discussed globally. It will be interesting to know what constitutes dark nights. Dark nights, right? I was going to say, world, he must bring light to the world's dark nights. I think that also references his first sermon, as we called it earlier on the show today, with everything he was speaking about, the dark places, the evil or the malicious intent that we often find prevailing very important spaces like our leadership spaces, people who have control over the people's resources and can influence outcomes. Evil, inhumanity. Exactly. Like so I strongly believe that's what he was referring to, saying the church must bring light to the world's dark nights. But I also must say that I don't think that this statement is that far-fetched from his affiliation to the U.S. I think that with everything that he says now, there would always be that torchlight shining off. This is the first American Pope that we're seeing. And we also know a lot of these decisions emanating from the U.S. as well. So I think that's something we're going to see placed side by side in a lot of his decisions. Okay, so the lead story, PDP woes Worsen as 3 Kebbi senators defect, weakening rescue mission. The riders are all about what we've been talking about today. Our 2 guests, that's what they've been talking about. Defecting lawmakers meet Tinubu Ganduje. We have internal mechanisms for smooth integration of defectors. Political camps within opposition party plot control of NWC. And then the cover story stretching across, right to left of the picture, strengthening bilateral trade. And those are the members of the delegation from Amir of State of Qatar, with President Tinubu, his chief of staff, his national security advisor, a few ministers, here and there. During the Tinubu's audience with a special envoy of the Amir of the State of Qatar at the presidential villa yesterday. That's an important ally to cultivate, isn't it? Very. The State of Qatar, given what UAE, the way that they have been playing us like basketball, over time. And this was happening, of course, at the presidential villa in Abuja just yesterday. Very quickly, let's go to the Vanguard. We just have a minute more to go. The lead of Vanguard today is on terror attacks. Army General explains sudden resurgence. I think that would be an interesting story. And of course, it also says new Pope's connection
to Nigeria. The white smoke from Chicago. that was.
I think he was in Nigeria at the time. I saw a picture of him.
I saw that as well.
I saw that as well. And then native doctor, kidnappers, scammers flee to Asaba. That's a good one for Delta.
Crackdown in Anambra hurting them. That's a very important story, especially as it pertains to all the terror attacks and kidnappings that's been happening. I think it should be giving us special attention because it's important and also solving other situations like this across the country.
All right. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching and do stay safe. I'm Steve Ayoride.
And I'm Kachi Ofia. From our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria, enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day.